So this will be a short talk. Uh, Einstein didn't cite his sources because he was working from a racist. Einstein's paper on special relativity in 1905 on the electrodynamics of moving bodies has no references or citations of what Einstein's working from, so it can give the impression that it springs from Einstein's imagination alone through his thought experiments. So this is Einstein's friend Max Born, and he tells us it gives you the impression, this is Einstein's special relativity, of quite a new venture, but that is of course, as I have tried to explain, not true. And he's saying this in 1956 in his book Physics in My Generation, i.e. he admits Einstein is working from an earlier tradition of relativity, and so we just need to work out what that was. So I found Einstein's source. He was working from a book by a racist. Presumably he didn't want to give credit to a racist as his source material, hence why he doesn't cite any sources in his paper. So this is a group of Einstein's friends. They call themselves the Olympia Academy, and these people, they discussed physics among themselves, leading up to Einstein writing his paper on special relativity in 1905, and his other papers such as on which became quantum physics and all those other things. So as per Wikipedia, it says the first book that Einstein suggested reading among his friends was Carl Pearson's The Grammar of Science, and Carl Pearson was a racist. So what you find now with Wikipedia, it collects a lot of information together, and so you find that it can tell you such interesting things as what Einstein is working from. Even though Einstein doesn't cite in his paper that he was working from Carl Pearson was somebody he was reading before he wrote his papers. Now this is Carl Pearson. He lived from 1857 to 1936. He was an English mathematician and biostatistician. Wikipedia explains he was a eugenicist who applied his social Darwinism to entire nations. Pearson saw war against inferior races as a logical implication of the theory of evolution. So basically what you got is a problem with Darwin's theory suddenly being interpreted as reasons to be a racist. My view, and I think it may be called the scientific view of a nation, he wrote, is that of an organised whole kept up to a high pitch of internal efficiency by ensuring that its numbers are substantially recruited from the better stocks and kept up to a high pitch of external efficiency by contest, chiefly by way of war with inferior races. So he's looking upon some races as superior to others and they should be on top, and inferior races, well, you get rid of them by war, which is quite a horrible thing to believe. So I think Einstein was embarrassed to cite the source for his ideas, that it was coming from this racist, thus he cited no references in his papers. Now this is the book, The Grammar of Science, And from this book we see that Bošković is mentioned. Einstein was working from Bošković's theory, and it can be found in this book. Unfortunately, the book does not go into sufficient detail about Bošković's theory. For a good talk on Bošković's theory, see this talk by Professor Dragostovich. But the whole basis is that Einstein was aware of things like Bošković's theory, and he knew that that was the sort of thing he was working from, even though he was not going to cite it as references in his papers. Finn, thank you. The end.